Hello, my name is Snowlight. This is my Warcraft University, a YouTube series intended to give new and mid-tier players simple concepts towards playing World of Warcraft at a higher level. In this video, we will discuss preparing for endgame content. Let's start off with a quick analogy from the Marvel Universe. Captain America has a shield with no equal. Hawkeye would never be found without a bow of some kind, nor Thor without his hammer, or axe. For many of these superheroes, they require some form of equipment, and even some of these heroes are defined by their equipment, like how Tony Stark becomes Iron Man with the suit. The same is true within WoW. The player's gear sets a performance ceiling for how well that player can perform. So with that in mind, let's look at improving one's gear along with other forms of preparation. When you look at one piece of your gear, you will see that there is an item level value here. The overall item level represents your baseline ability to perform in increasingly difficult content. So the higher you can get this number, the better you will be able to do damage, or tank, or heal. Some forms of content, like the looking for group or looking for raid systems, will not allow you to participate until your item level exceeds a certain minimum threshold. Because of this, the number one priority for preparing for endgame content is to find gear that is better than what you currently use. Now, it does need to be the right kind of gear for your class. We have discussed that in a previous video. But before you start working on any of the additional items we're going to discuss next, start by getting your item level high enough that you can start participating in the content you want to perform in. Okay, now that we've got acceptably good gear, let's improve it further. If you see a piece of gear with this symbol next to it, that means there is an empty gem slot that can hold a gem which will give you an additional boost. In general, this will be one of your secondary stats, so consult icyveins.com or whichever website you prefer to determine your most valuable secondary stat for your class, also a topic discussed in a previous video. Then you want to buy the best gem for that stat. Shift-click on the item, and then place the gem into the slot. In a similar way, an enchanter can put certain buffs on certain pieces of equipment, each enchantment giving a stat upgrade or some other form of permanent buff. You can purchase these enchants from the auction house or from an enchanter directly, as shown here. Or have an enchanter directly enchant the item via the trade window here. If you have any questions about gems or enchants, be sure to consult with icyveins.com or your class mentor. Now that your gear is all ready to go, let's look at two add-ons that will help with both dungeons and raids. First is Deadly Boss Mods, an add-on that will give you alerts to move, taunt, or help with a mechanic during the raid. You will hear things like run, help soak, or stay away from lines, while actively fighting a boss, and whatever you hear, you should generally do that action. There are some exceptions where it doesn't work perfectly, like on Skolix, where the taunt alert is a bit misleading, but in general, if you hear something, you should do something. Another helpful feature is that DBM will put timers on your screen so that you can know when to expect the next dangerous mechanic to occur. And this will help with planning ahead or positioning to keep yourself and your friends safe. Another valuable add-on is Weak Auras. This is a highly customizable add-on that will give you information about a specific mechanic, either for the boss or for your own character. Once the base Weak Auras add-on is installed, it is very easy to add individual modules when another player links them. So it helps out your raid leader or team to have this ready to go when raid time starts. That being said, not all Weak Auras modules are combat specific. We have a fun one in our raid that counts the number of jumps for each player, and then reports who jumped the most after combat ends. Now that we've looked at what these add-ons can do, let's take a look at setting them up. I'm going to throw it over to my future self for an add-on install demonstration. Take it away, future me. Alright, and I will take it over from here. First thing I want to do is I'm going to remove my add-ons that I have previously used. So I'm going to go into the World of Warcraft folder, go into Retail in this case. If you're playing on Classic, then you go on Classic. I'm going to move the Cache, Interface, and WTF folders to a different place so the game does not recognize them. I'm going to just make a folder called Backup and put them there. So now if I go back into the Retail folder, you will see I do not have Cache, Interface, or WTF folders. That will effectively reset my UI to its original state. So now we're going to go to download.curseforge.com and we're going to download this client. Now I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to download and install it, but the next step for you would be to download and then install. So then I will launch the client from here. You'll notice I also have Tukui. We talked about that in the user interface, but I keep those two side by side because they more or less do the same thing. A little insight into the games that I play and some other things that go on while we wait for this to load. Now that we're here, you can see I've already got some add-ons set up here, but I'm going to go to Get More Add-ons. Right here you can see that we can search, or we can look at the most popular ones, weak auras being right here. So what you would do is you would search and install weak auras, or you could search and install for Deadly Boss mods, but you see I already have that one installed. I have the option to update it, as it's one of my current add-ons. So just for fun, we will install weak auras by clicking on it and then clicking on install. It takes a moment and then it does the install for us. Now if I go back to my add-ons, you will see I still have Deadly Boss mods that's waiting for an update, and weak auras, which was recently updated. This means it is currently up to date, along with the status that says the same thing. Come back over to my folder structure, and you can see that the interface folder has been repopulated when it installed that add-on. The cache and the WTF folders would be repopulated if we launched the game. But now that it is installed, and we can see that it is up to date, that is the entirety of getting it installed. I'm going to go ahead and update Deadly Boss mods now. Now that that's done, I'm actually going to close and kill the client. Looks like the client is gone. And I'm going to come back into the backup folder. I'm actually going to delete the interface that I just created when it made weak auras, and then bring back in my 3 folders that have all of my add-ons that I have installed outside of this demonstration. Alright, now that we've installed the add-ons, I wanted to show you where to find it in-game. Here on the character select screen, you'll see in the bottom left is a button that says add-ons. If I click on that, you can see the add-ons that I currently have here. I have some of them disabled because they're not working correctly, and I'll go fix those at some point later. Peggle is definitely not working correctly. But if I scroll down, you can see DBM. This is for Deadly Boss mods. There's the core file, and then there's all of the different files that are specific to a raid or a zone or the Dark Moon Fair, so on and so forth. In addition, you should see weak auras. Here it is. Weak auras and a few other weak auras additions that are right here. And these are also checked. Now, right here where it says load out-of-date add-ons, every time there's a patch, if this is unchecked, you will see that then there are some that turn red, and these are considered out-of-date add-ons and should be updated by the developers, and then once they're updated by the developers, that update will come through the client that you saw earlier when I updated Deadly Boss mods. And then that would turn from red to yellow, like you'd see down here, or just blue in some cases, whatever it may be. Red basically means it will not load because it's out of date. By checking this checkbox, that overrides that, and it goes ahead and continues to load it as much as your checkboxes allow. You can see these ones depend on the first one, which I believe is this Alcoholic by Thauki. Alright, now that we're in the game, I'm going to go ahead and press escape here, and you'll see that even in the main menu, get rid of that, there's an add-ons button here. If I were to click this one, you can see basically that same list starting with Alcoholic, which I have disabled, and you can enable one of them. There we go. And then if you reload your UI here, that will then activate those add-ons which were previously deactivated. I don't want this running because it's not working, so I'm going to leave it where it's at. And that completes the demonstration of how to install and manage your add-ons. So I'm going to throw it back to my previous self to continue this video. Thank you, future me. That was a great demonstration. I'll take it back from here. Okay, we've now installed 2 add-ons that will help to alert you to danger during a fight. Now let's look at preparing you, the player, for each fight. Blizzard has added an in-game journal as a reference for each of the bosses that you will be facing. However, I recommend keeping this just as a reference and not as a way to learn the fights. Better will be to see it for yourself. YouTube channels like Fat Boss TV, Hazelnutty Games, and Ready Check Pull are all great resources that will describe each mechanic, one boss per video, and how you should react to each event before and as it occurs. I recommend checking out all 3 of these channels and some of their boss guides to determine which one meets your preferences. We have mentioned this before in the University series, but this is one of the most important concepts. You, the player, need to practice your role before the content gets hard. Think of it like a professional football player. They will train body and mind 365 days a year so that they can perform at the highest level in just 16 to 20 games. In Warcraft, you should not be looking to reach this extreme level of training, but you do need to put in time around concepts of your ability rotation, positioning, and avoiding boss mechanics. Start with a training dummy where there is no danger at all, and get your DPS as high as you can. Then move into normal dungeons, focusing on these topics even if the bosses don't hurt much. When you feel comfortable, or there is not much gear left that you need, step it up to Heroic and then eventually to Mythic. On the raiding side, start with LFR and make sure to practice dodging the boss's abilities and performing your role at a high level, maximum damage for DPS characters. After you feel comfortable in LFR, then apply to a normal or entry-level raid team until you are consistently one of the top players in your role. Scaling in these ways and training yourself to be ready for danger to come for you, these will help you to be a better player, not just a better geared imposter. And with that, you should have a good starting place to prepare for endgame content. If you found this useful, please leave a like on the video or a comment with any questions or ideas so we can continue to work on this series. The subscribe button and the bell are there so you can see when new videos come out if that is your desire. As always, please be positive in your guilds and help make WoW a fun place for everyone to play. Goodbye for now.